The enemy still wants to strike us.
Terrorism, war, disaster, and disease are grim realities brought to our doorstep in our increasingly connected world. And these realities ultimately shape America's national security and foreign policies.
We've become a nervous country. We spend more on our national defense and security than any other nation in the world, and we don't feel safe as Americans.
What role should America play in 21st century global security? Can the United States be a positive role model? Will other nations follow?
We cannot dry up the sources of terrorism on our own.
Sometimes you have to act and then hope that public opinion will follow.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I'm David Brancaccio, and this is Beyond Fear from the Stanley Foundation.
Los Angeles turns out in force to scream a welcome to two of the war's outstanding heroes, General Blood and Guts Patton and General Jimmy Doolittle.
These old newsreels, once commonplace in movie theaters, presented a black and white world of good and evil. America was always the hero. Today, our world is a murkier place. Terrorism, war, disaster, and disease are grim realities brought to our doorstep in our increasingly connected world.
The enemy still wants to strike us. The enemy still wants to achieve safe haven from which to plot and plan. The enemy would like to have weapons of mass destruction in order to attack us. These are lethal, cold-blooded killers.
And as President Bush frequently asserts, these realities have to shape America's national security and foreign policies.
Right now there's a premium more on things that build fear or exploit the fear that Americans have about their basic security.
Steve Clemens is the director of the American Strategy Program at the New America Foundation in Washington.
We've become a nervous country. We spend more on our national defense and security than any other nation in the world, and we don't feel safe as Americans.
But fear itself cannot drive our daily lives. We know weapons, disease, drugs, and other security threats move more freely around the world than ever before. If national borders can't contain these threats, how do we stop them? What role should the United States play in this effort? And will other nations play along?
The spike in anti-Americanism is troubling. It's not that we have to run a popularity contest, but when the world doesn't trust us, it's very difficult to get them to follow us.
Ambassador Nancy Soderberg is a former Clinton administration national security official. When the U.S. plays what she sees as a positive leadership role, the world usually follows, as was the case when the war in Afghanistan won overwhelming global support. But the Iraq conflict has tarnished America's global image. Soderberg believes rebuilding global trust in the United States will lead not only to better foreign relations, but will ultimately strengthen the security within our own borders.
Unfortunately, the threats are global and the solutions are global. We cannot dry up the sources of terrorism on our own. We cannot keep weapons of mass destruction out of the hands of terrorists on our own. We need to engage the global community, and that means leading it.
America plays host to a
Following the collapse of the Soviet Empire, the United States has remained the world's lone superpower. Does this mean we have to be in the driver's seat for solving every global problem? Vintage newsreels show America was once recognized as the leader in times of crisis.
We shall send you in ever-increasing numbers, ships, planes, tanks, guns. That is our purpose and our pledge.